The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome in to another episode of Spiritual Philos-o-Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And here you are, episode 47?
47.
Nice. And the topic?
This is the subconscious mind.
Whoa.
I had a lot of fun
heavy.
putting this together, actually, because there's so much. It's like a wormhole. You can just,
Oh, yeah.
There's so many things I could have put into this episode, but I wanted to, narrow it down. So
Cool.
it'll be good, I think.
I'm excited.
Me too.
It is a wormholey one, but it's cool.
Yeah, it is.
So before we jump into that one, though, last week?
I have some stuff, yes. Cool. So first of all, I like to tell our listeners stories about the things that happen in our life because I think that's kind of what we do. They are following along with what's going on with us, becoming a medium and you growing your business and all of that. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I don't want to say preach about, but we talk about a lot is manifestation.
Yeah.
And this week, I think we had some really interesting manifestations that I wanted to share with our listeners.
Awesome.
So we had talked, actually, there was one episode where we mentioned that we wanted to clean the garage. And we finally got to that. In the last 2 weeks,
Yay for us.
Yay. The last 2 weeks, our free time we have spent in the garage going through everything because something that's come with this spiritual awakening is the need to kind of purge, I feel. Mm-hmm. You don't want a bunch of crap anymore. You just want to live simply and not, carry a bunch of stuff with you. So we did that. We cleaned the garage. And then actually it was like the day that we were done, I believe. Well, okay, so it was Saturday. Our neighbors had a garage sale. And everything that was left over from the garage sale, they left out on the front lawn and put free on it. So Sunday I drove by and I saw that there was an ottoman out there. And I had actually a few weeks ago thought we needed a new ottoman because we bought a couch like 5 years ago and we bought the ottoman to match. And our Great Dane, that's his favorite spot to sleep in is the ottoman. And, a Great Dane laying in the same place for most of the day, it's really, really worn. Right. So I thought I need to get a new ottoman for him before that one completely wears out. But they're so expensive, Mm-hmm. So when I saw that there was an ottoman out there, I thought, well, if it's there tomorrow, I'm going to go look at it. So Monday morning it was still there. And I told you, I'm going to go see this ottoman. And you probably thought that I was crazy and it was going to be all beat up and disgusting like I did.
What? Honestly, I totally forgot you even said anything to me about the ottoman.
Yeah. Well, so I went down to look at it. And not only was it in pristine condition, but it was the exact same ottoman that matched our set. The exact same one. Of all the couch sets, and how it blew my mind. I laughed. I would drug that thing home and I laughed, and now Zuma loves it. And it was like a gift. It was a gift. Like, you guys cleaned the garage. You have a place for this now. Here's your gift.
Right.
And then later that day.
Yeah, it was extraordinary.
It really was.
That it was literally the same exact one.
Yeah. And in great condition. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then later that same day, I got a phone call and it went to voicemail. And when, you have the visual voicemail, I read it and it said that I had won tickets on the radio and that my tickets had come in, basically. Right. And I came to you and I said, listen to this message. And I played it. It was basically 1035 said that my Bare Naked Ladies tickets weren't in yet, but as soon as they were in, they would let me know.
Right.
I was like, Bare Naked Ladies tickets? I didn't win any Bare Naked Ladies tickets. Now, the irony of this is that it would probably be one of the concerts we would choose not to go to.
Yeah.
But I am a true believer in that this happened for a reason, and whatever it is, this story is going to evolve. But somehow I won tickets on the radio. I didn't win them. I'm maybe losing my memory a little bit, but that's not...
I heard the message.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that progresses and what kind of story is behind that, whether that was just a gift or if there will be something more that'll come of it. But we'll keep our listeners informed of that.
Right.
But it was like another gift for the universe. And that kind of takes me into the next thing that I wanted to fill our listeners in on. And a little bit of maybe why two of these things are happening is that I was able to help one of my very good clients find a home for his bird. And I've talked about this bird with our listeners before. His name is Jasper. He's an African gray. And the owner's wife passed away a couple of years ago. She had cancer. And ever since, the bird has stopped talking in her voice because African grays, they mimic.
Right.
Well, once I started taking care of this bird and I started communicating not just with her spirit on the other side, but with the bird, now he talks like her again. So this has been a really cool story. I've gotten to know the owner very well, and he just kind of needs to get on with his life. You know, he needs to travel and do things that this bird needs a family. It just isn't working. So I was able to help him find a home for this bird. And I feel like those two things that happened that day were, they were gifts.
Yeah.
For doing the garage, for doing good things.
Yep.
Because I think we forget, like, manifestation, how do we get these things back to us? It's not just about doing good things for others. It's about doing good things for ourselves.
Yeah.
Because that's self-love and that's taking care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I wanted to share that story with our listeners.
It's a good one.
I think so. And it will be interesting to see what happens with those Bare Naked Ladies tickets. You know?
Yeah. I'll be blown away if they show up. Like, okay.
Well, but then why Bare Naked Ladies? Like, is something going to happen at that show? Like, you know, are we going to meet somebody, or is there an opening act that's somebody that we like? We try to analyze why these things happen, and we're normally wrong because they don't tell us.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by this story. Like, where's this going? Why?
Yeah.
You know,
There's
so we'll
a
see.
reason.
There always is. Yeah. We'll see.
I'll suck it up.
Well, I don't really, care for them either.
Yeah,
but
they're not my first choice of group, but
yeah.
I will go.
Yeah.
Whatever, for free.
Well, maybe I can talk the radio station into giving us something else.
Yeah.
Doubtful,
I'll go
but,
somewhere else for free too.
Yeah, exactly.
If that's all
I'll
you
take
got.
those Billie Eilish tickets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That big difference.
There you go.
So anyways, that's all I got for you.
Cool.
For
That was
this
good.
week. Yeah.
All right. Well, episode 47, the
47.
subconscious mind.
The subconscious mind. When I got this idea for this episode, I wanted to call it the power of the mind. And the reason that I thought that is because of what's going on right now with this coronavirus that is spreading. Because people are freaking out and they're letting rumor and those types of things take control of them.
Yeah.
And so then you put that kind of power into your mind and it projects in other ways. So I thought this would be a great episode to talk about this week because of that. Well, then I started doing my research, and when I put in the power of the mind, what starts coming up? The subconscious mind. Well, what was last week? Dolores Cannon.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, it's the next logical step.
Yeah.
So I talk about how the other side feeds me this information, and I think that was how they picked this week's episode. But so this is more information kind of on what she does and the subconscious mind and how it's different.
Cool.
But what is the subconscious mind?
Mm-hmm.
It is, your subconscious mind is like a huge memory bank. Its capacity is virtually unlimited. It permanently stores everything that has ever happened to you. Literally everything. So that's why, like, when we talk about past life, because your subconscious
it's like
is
your
kind
own
of a
personal hard drive.
That's exactly what it
that
is. Exactly.
Really can't. Just sort of like like a computer, if you looked at it that way, where, you could throw stuff away, like files, delete them, but they're still in the computer. And
it's funny because that's kind of the analogy that I used for this, actually.
Yeah.
There was one other thing that I wanted to talk about. So here's a good example. This was an example that they give. So when you first learn to drive, you're so focused on driving, right? You keep an eye on everything. What color is that light? What's this? Everything is kind of done on purpose, right? Then after you've driven for a while and you've gotten more used to it, it actually becomes subconscious for you. You do it without even realizing it, especially when you do the same thing every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes I will have a pet sit, like I have the same route every day in the middle of the day. Sometimes I'll try and mix it up, but my subconscious wants me to go to that first sit, right away.
Right.
It's really hard because it gets like implanted. So that was a good example.
That's a great example, like especially the driving one. You're taught to constantly look in your mirrors, that you're just doing it without even realizing that you're focused on all these things while you're operating this very dangerous piece of machinery.
Well, I was listening, I think it was Julia Cannon's book, but one of them, Julia Cannon or Dolores, they were saying that when you drive, you do go into a slight hypnotic state because you're not really like completely paying attention.
Right.
You're just kind of going about what you need to do. We were talking about this the other day about how it would be nice if there was a way that, texting and driving wasn't even possible.
Yeah.
And you said, like, my car, most cars, I think newer cars, you can talk through and text, so it, you don't have to use your phone.
Right.
And you were saying that even that is distracting because you should be paying attention to the road, which, yeah, on one hand, I do agree with you, but on the other, you're always thinking about something else.
Absolutely.
That's
a great point, actually. Yeah.
Whether you're listening to the radio and singing along, you're talking on the phone,
have a passenger.
Right. As long as you're looking at the road and you're paying attention, it's like, you're in that slight hypnotic state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. So some examples of the subconscious, what it stores are beliefs, fears, memories, triggered feelings, things that trigger you, that you might not even remember
like
why they trigger you.
Kind of event.
Yeah. Breathing in your heart rate. Here's actually a good exercise. Let's try this real quick. So think about your breaths right now. So let's all take a deep breath in and out. And then do it again. Out. That's called conscious breathing. Now we're going to go back to talking to you, and we're going to go back to what we were doing, and that is subconscious breathing. You're not thinking about that.
Right.
So that's a good analogy of the difference as well.
Blinking.
Yeah. You don't even realize that you're doing it.
Right.
Yeah. The conscious mind basically is your thoughts, like actions, like right now, your logic, calculations, what you're writing, those things, what you're thinking on, what you're focusing on.
Right.
So if you think about it, if you have your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, and you are sitting here thinking about your problems, right? You're not doing anything else. You're thinking about those problems. You're kind of transferring those to your subconscious mind if you think about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're sort of imprinting them.
Yeah.
As if, like, I need to save these.
Yeah.
Now, think about all the other events that are relatively insignificant. Somebody that you might hold the door open for that you're like, wow, I've never seen a jacket like that in my life. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
And then you just sort of maybe forget it.
Yeah. Or on the other hand, there was something that I heard once that said that if you repeat something for 1 minute, it will be stored in your subconscious forever. So I tried it, and I think it's true because I can't remember what the song was now. You might know, but I remember thinking, I love this song that was on the radio. I need to remember the band. The name of the band was the Daz Band. And I sat there for a minute and I repeated Daz Band, Daz Band. Guess what? It stuck. Can't remember the song I was talking about, but I can remember Daz Band. Right. So yeah, if you sit there and you think about something long enough, it gets stored in your subconscious.
God,
and that's
what
really affects you.
That's stored.
Right?
Especially for my childhood, maybe.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Then you start to think about other lives, and I'm like, wow.
Exactly. Yeah, and we had talked about that a little bit with Dolores Cannon about how your past lives can affect you in this life, and that was part of her research as well.
Yeah,
is that it does. Yeah.
Oh, I agree.
So you can see how your thoughts they stick with you, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you kind of handle changing that? If you have all of these thoughts that are going into your subconscious, you have to consciously change them, right? That's a difficult thing to do for most people, right? So this is where your analogy kind of came in. It says, think of your mind as a computer, and the info in the current program that runs automatically makes those memories. Mm-hmm. So by reprogramming with new programs, you can fix many of your problems. Mm-hmm. The subconscious learns by repetition, not logic. Right. This is why you can convince someone to believe in something by repeating your point again and again, even without logic.
Right. When you look at the development of computers themselves, I don't think humans were the first to create computers. That's definitely my belief.
Yeah.
So, but their structure or whatever their infrastructure, it's as if they took the subconscious mind
Right.
and the conscious mind and said, how do we make this tangible?
Right.
It's literally like almost made in our image a bit,
Right.
in a strange way.
No.
The way that it's designed and how you're explaining it is exactly the way that it's the computer is designed.
Right, exactly. Let me give you a good example. And sometimes when we do these episodes, we usually do them after I go and do my midday walks. And while I'm out for my midday walks, I ask the universe if there's anything that I should talk about in this episode. Last minute, help me out here. Something that I got today. This is a very good story that they handed me to remind me. Mm-hmm. There was a girl, I didn't write her name down or anything because this was in, I think, Czechoslovakia or somewhere in there in the 80s. I don't want to butcher her name, but it was a young girl. She was about 3 years old and she was suffering from abuse from her parents. And basically what happened is she was looking for someplace warm to sleep. They locked this girl outside in the freezing cold. She was 3 years old. So she looked for someplace warm to sleep and she found the dogs outside in their dog houses. So she started living with the dogs in her own backyard. She lived with those dogs for so long that she literally became a dog. She started walking on all fours. She could bark. She could run like the dogs. She could communicate with them. Wow. She lived like this. I think it was about 5 years that she lived like this, or maybe a little bit longer. Either way, eventually they were the authorities were notified of what was going on and they went out to help her. And she didn't want their help at first, tried to come after them like she was a dog.
Wow.
Well, now here she is. And I mean, this is 30 some. Years later, and she's trying to live as normal as she can. I did a little bit of an update today. I read that she lives on a farm, but she has the mentality of like an 8-year-old because those are the most developmental times, But she
froze there kind of before this kind of happened.
She can talk, but not real well. It's kind of like without any kind of like anything to it. It's flat is the way that they described it. Huh. But they had to retrain her subconscious. Because think about it, like if you walk on 2 legs right now, right? That's what we've done our whole lives. And then all of a sudden somebody tells us we have to walk on all fours. Imagine how long that's going to take, not just to train your body, but your subconscious. It's so used to being one way, you have to train it another way. It's the same thing with trying to teach yourself how to be more positive. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen overnight.
No.
You have to go through all of these steps to, have a more positive mind.
Reprogramming your mind.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And some of the stuff, isn't your fault per se, the things that have happened to you that have put you there.
Yes.
And some of them may be, self-inflicted, but, it does take that process.
Yes.
And it's sort of like what you said, it's like a habit. You have to do that.
Yeah. When you think about your subconscious and if this stores all of the memories that you've ever had, right? Mm-hmm. What is in there? Because we remember very, very little.
Yep.
And those things that happen to us in our childhood that are stored in there, we take that stuff with us. And one of the things that I came across in this research is something that goes along with the subconscious a little bit, and that's called gaslighting. And gaslighting is it's a form of manipulation of the subconscious, basically.
Yes.
So I'll read the definition to you. Gaslighting is a pattern of manipulation, tactics used by abusers, narcissists, dictators, and cult leaders. The goal is to make the victim question their own reality and makes the victim need the person doing the gaslighting. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to change your subconscious to believe that you're the bad person or you need them. Unfortunately, I did experience this as a child in several different ways. My mom was verbally abusive. And it's hard for me to talk about this because I know she's listening, but at the same time, she tells me I have to talk about this.
Yeah,
this
is important.
This is what has to be talked about, right? But she was verbally abusive and would tell me things like I'm worthless. And so, you get told those things, you grow up thinking those things.
Right.
But not just that. Like, honestly, I think one of the worst things that she did was she turned me against my own father, because she gaslighted me with things that weren't true about him my entire life. I can say my teenage years, before that.
Yeah.
Then I tried to form my own opinion, but because of the damage that she had done, I'll give you a great example, because this is a funny story. Now I can laugh about it. Obviously a big Disney fan. My mom used to take me all the time as a kid. And one of her favorite rides was Pirates of the Caribbean. And there's a scene in the Pirates of the Caribbean where there's a pirate laying in the mud with pigs. And every time that we would go by that, she would say, "There's your dad. Wave, say hi to your dad." So when you start hearing this, I don't know when she started telling me this.
She thinks she's being funny.
Right. She thinks she's being funny. But I can tell you, I started on Pirates of the Caribbean when I was probably 3 or 4. So she probably started saying this, and she said it all the way up until I was a teenager. So now every time I ride that ride, every single time I see that, I think of that. It's stuck. It's in my subconscious. I know now my dad is not a pig, or a pirate with pigs. Right. But when I was a kid, I didn't know that.
No,
she filled my head full of things so that I would not need him.
Yeah,
I would need her, and I would feel that she was the better parent. It's very sad. It
is. I mean, a child's mind. I mean, if we're going to kind of use a computer analogy, it's like a blank computer that's just waiting to be filled with memory, you know what I mean?
Right.
And our role models as we're coming up, and these memories are being put in there, can be very responsible for a lot of the good memories and a lot of the bad memories. And that, like you're talking about, gaslighting, it sucks. I've seen a lot of people do it very close to me.
Yeah.
And it's sad.
Yeah.
But it's an illness.
Yes.
It really is. And, but you're right. It is playing on the subconscious mind.
Absolutely. In the spiritual awakening and trying to be a more positive person, I have tried to take situations like that and turn them into more funny. And I think that the other side really wants us to do that, and they help us with that, because the last time that I went to Disneyland, which was last summer, I went into this store and it was like they had like music boxes and just beautiful figurines. And I was looking, they had one Pirates of the Caribbean scene, like a figurine, and it was that scene. And I was like, okay, I would have bought it. It was expensive, and Disneyland already sucked the money out of me. So I might at some point buy it, because I think that it's so funny at this point that here's that one scene, but I try not to dwell on it, because I know that, he wasn't like that.
And you go by there now, and she doesn't say that.
No, she doesn't say that anymore. No, but it's something else that kind of rolls into is that some people learn from others, like their parents, how to gaslight. Yeah. And my grandmother, I definitely feel, did that to my mother, which is why my mother ruled that over onto me.
Yeah.
That's very common. You have to break the cycle.
You do.
Honestly, that has been for me. Everything that my mom did or anything else that was done to me in my childhood, I have made it a point that I will not repeat those patterns.
Yeah.
Because it's just
there's certain things I've promised myself, and no, I'm not perfect as a parent at all, but I think I've done pretty well at promising that I wasn't going to do certain things.
Yeah. Here's something else that I found interesting, is that if the gaslighter has a personality disorder or an anti-personality disorder, they're probably born with this, actually, with this insatiable need to control others and have deep-seated anxiety. So if you have a personality disorder, you probably already have the gaslighting built into it.
Right.
So I found that very interesting.
And you also could have been brought up in a very abusive environment.
Yes.
Which is going to cause a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
And therefore, if not recognized, can very well manifest itself right in you.
It's a good point that you brought up, actually, because I started watching last night the trials of Gabriel Fernandez. And if you're not familiar with this is a Netflix original about a boy here in California that was murdered by his mom and her boyfriend in 2013. And I remember when it happened because I get these emails from Nixle whenever something like that happens. And I remember seeing their mugshots, but I didn't really read through it.
Yeah,
but this is big. Everybody's watching this. And so Chelsea and I decided we were going to watch it together. And so I watched the first two and she watched 3. And a couple of things out of this is that this little boy, he was only 8 and he did die from the abuse. But I feel like I don't want to say he's better on the other side, because obviously it would have been better for that to never happen to him.
Right.
But the trauma, the things that this poor boy would have had to deal with in his own mind, like getting that out of his head. People don't realize just because your kid maybe can't verbalize at that age what they're going through, it still sticks.
Oh, yeah.
And that poor kid, if he would have survived that kind of abuse, oh God, I can't even imagine.
It's hard. Yeah. As a parent, I get very upset. I don't want to get angry.
Yeah.
But I get really upset by that.
Here's something else about it too that also goes with the subconscious mind is that for me, I used to watch a lot of television, a lot. I could sit all day. My brother and I could like binge watch shows like there was no tomorrow. Now I have a really hard time even sitting and watching something for a half hour. It doesn't hold my I don't get entertained really anymore.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've had a detox from TV. So last night when I watched 2 episodes of this horrible, horrible child abuse, I feel it today.
Yeah.
I feel it. I feel different. I feel anxious. I feel like I want to cry.
Yeah.
So if I feel like that, and that's only from 2 hours of television, what is hours upon hours of stuff like that and the news doing to people?
Exactly.
We have to stop watching the news. And I know that people think that that's naive to say, but it's doing so much damage to our society. Because if you think about it, it's like, okay, look at a television show. They want you to come back and watch next week, right? So they leave you with like this giant cliffhanger. But
of course.
Right. But on the news, if you think about it, they all do the same thing. Next on Channel 5 News, little boy murdered,
Like, they don't want you to go away in between the commercials.
And they have to fight for which station you're going to watch. So they're always competing. So, and for some reason, our society seems to feel that whoever has the worst stories, that's who we should watch.
Yeah.
Wherever is the most drama. You know what? I would watch the news if it was one bad story and 100 good ones. But it's not. It's 100 bad ones and 1 good one.
Yeah.
It's not being naive and shoving our heads in the sand. You know what it's doing? It's reprogramming our minds not to be angry and bitter and hateful.
Right. There's a lot of things that happen in this world that deserve news.
Yes.
Good and bad.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's not good for you.
You have to be informed, but...
And that's adding to people's, if you got issues and stuff in your own traumatic life or upbringing, and then you're, watching that, and that's getting you all uptight, and then you're the type of person that is a gaslighter or whatever, an abuser, and you start taking it out on your children. All we're doing is breeding this.
Yes.
We need to stop that.
Yes.
We need to stop taking it out on our kids first.
Right.
And then the kids will stop doing that.
Yes.
See?
Absolutely. That's how
there
it works.
There will be no more bullying. There will be no more. It's the parents.
Yep.
So how do you do that and say, okay, starting today, every parent can't be like this? And then, well, you know what?
It doesn't work like that.
No, everybody has to just start to go, wow, I see that person being like that. And then that person's like that. It becomes a conscious thing that, whether it's community or globally or whatever, that's what has to happen. Examples. We need more examples.
We do. We need more positivity and less of this. My grandmother was one of those that she could sit in front of the TV and watch the news all day long. And then she would watch Dateline and she'd call me and tell me not to do things like eat apples because they cause cancer.
Right.
And I was raised by a grandmother and a mother that were both extreme hypochondriacs. And it basically was something that I had to deal with for the first 30-something years of my life that I was always basically in the presence of a hypochondriac, which, guess what, made me one too.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm not anymore.
And then you married one.
I did. I wasn't going to go there, but yeah, I did. So yeah, I did. I spent the first 30-something years of my life living with hypochondria, and I didn't want to throw up. I was scared to death to throw up. And this was something I was thinking about, is that I was so scared because, like, my mom was she didn't want anybody to throw up. And my ex-husband was the same way. And so for me, I felt like if I threw up, it was going to make them not want to be around me. Yeah. And so I couldn't.
Yeah, that sucks.
But listen to this. This is another thing that I had. How many times have I thrown up since we've been together? Not many. I mean, I know you're not keeping. Where's the tally, right? Yeah. Not many, though, is my point.
I don't know. Yeah.
Like, I have to make myself throw up. I know this is a gross topic, but I have a point. I have to make myself throw up if I need to feel better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I have trained my subconscious not to throw up. I physically can't because I spent the first 30 years of my life training myself not to. Right. That whenever I would get sick, I would be like, please don't, please don't, please don't.
Right.
Yeah.
So now you're just like, let's just get it over with and I'll feel
please. Better. Like, I've gone to you and I'm like, please, I just need to throw up and get it out. But
let's just dumb that down another level and go, it's just facing your problems.
Right.
Got a problem with your tummy?
Right.
Throw up.
Well, and this is the problem this is the problem I'm having with this coronavirus, is that I understand that there's a lot of people that are sick, and that the percentage of how many people have been tested and how many people have died is high.
Right.
It's like 3.4%, which is high. The death rate, looking at it that way, is high.
Yeah.
But I would like to remind everybody that if people with mild versions of it, or people that don't have insurance, or people like myself that are recovering hypochondriacs that stay away from the doctor until they have a limb falling off, these people will stay home and not get tested. So they're not included in those statistics.
Right.
So you have to look at it a little bit more realistic. More likely, it's more like the flu, where it's like 1%. Mm-hmm. That's it's very similar to the flu.
Right.
It's transmitting the same way.
It is a version of the flu.
It is. Our animals they're vaccinated for coronavirus. I don't know if people even realize that. They're vaccinated for a version of coronavirus. It's in the 8-in-1 shot that the vet gives. This is not something new.
But other versions of the flu before coronavirus have killed infants and elderly
the same way,
over and over. You know, so
but everybody's panicking.
It's shoving down our throat on the media aspect is why everybody's panicking.
Yes.
And until society starts to realize that this is a money-making game, okay?
Yes.
It's not like a big conspiracy so much as it is you have some very wealthy people that own these companies, okay? And they like their money.
Yeah.
They like their houses. They like their yachts. They got a lot of people they got to pay that work for them.
Yeah.
So that's why they're saying, next on Channel 5,
right.
You know, whatever it is.
There's two places I would suggest getting your news from about the coronavirus. That's the CDC and the World Health Organization. Mm-hmm. Do not take quotes that the World Health Organization said this. No, go to their website, please, because it really does break it down and gives you the facts. Because it is about the same death rate as the flu. You don't die from the coronavirus. Okay, you usually get better, and then you get pneumonia, or it goes into pneumonia. So most of the time, like you said, it's infants, it's the elderly, it's people that are immunocompromised.
Low immune system.
Exactly. People, around our age, it's really, really, really low.
If you are relatively healthy. Yes.
What they're trying to do, and they should explain this better, is they're not trying to freak people out. They're trying to stop the spread of it, not just so that they don't die, so that people don't get sick and it doesn't become this big thing. It's not about the death rate. It's just about not wanting people to get sick. Mm-hmm. Because they don't want people to get sick. I don't want to get sick.
Right.
But you know what? I will take my chances. It's okay. I'll take care of myself. And if I'm the 1% in my age group or whatever that dies, then I guess that's the way it's meant to be. But that's not how it works. last year I lost a friend to pneumonia from the flu. He was 50 years old.
Wow.
And he was in such good shape. Never in a million years would have thought. Actually, he was a exotic dancer when he was younger, so he stayed in that shape. He was, but he didn't take care of himself. He got sick here in California, but something about his insurance, he had to go back to Nevada. So he just stayed here, and he got sicker and sicker. And then he decided to drive to Nevada, and by the time he got there, he was too far gone. This is how people die from this, from not taking care of themselves if they're younger normally,
Yeah.
You have to take care of yourself. It's logic. It's common sense. Wash your hands. I didn't mean to go off on a coronavirus tangent, but it's like,
yeah, it's a little much.
Coming from a recovered hypochondriac, take it from me. I don't want to get sick either, but I'll take it. It's fine. I'm not going to not go. I'm not going to not travel. I'm not going to not go to the store. The Costco's are sold out of toilet paper, so I guess I'll be ordering when we need it somewhere else. It's ridiculous, but live your life, guys.
Yeah.
Just wash your hands. Don't touch your face.
Yeah.
There was a lady on TV yesterday. I saw somebody put it on Facebook, and it was her talking about how to not spread it, don't touch your face, and then don't touch your mouth. She licks her finger to change the paper, right? To flip the next page. So she licks her finger. She goes, You're just preaching to people. Don't put your hands in your mouth and don't touch your face. And
Didn't
you just put your hands in your
show
mouth.
the vice president doing it or something?
I don't know.
In some
Probably.
lab touching his face, and they were like, I get it.
Oh, I don't know. I try
whatever.
to stay away from it. That one was funny. Yeah. But actually, this is good. On the medical front, there is an interesting concept that does affect the subconscious called the placebo effect.
Yep.
The placebo effect is something that happens when you're given a medication, but it's not a medication, it's a sugar pill. You think that it's maybe a real pill, but it's not.
Right.
So what happens is that, placebos won't lower cholesterol or shrink a tumor. It doesn't work like that. Placebos work on symptoms modulated by the brain, such as pain. They can make you feel better, but they won't cure you. So, for example, I took, what do you call it? One of those, the clinical trials. I did a clinical trial for my migraines for a couple of years, but the first one involved a placebo. And a lot of times when people are given this, type of thing, they're worried about the side effects, right? And this is a great way to tell the side effects, because some people will actually feel sick. It goes the other way. It'll make them feel sick because of their brain, right? So I did this. I got the real medication. I know I got the real medication because the migraine went away, but there were no side effects from the medication. There was nothing like that. And I ended up taking this medication and still do. And it works the same way. But this is a great way to see that just something as simple as like a sugar pill, it can make people believe something that's not true.
But is there anything in it?
No, it's just a sugar pill.
Just sugar.
Yeah.
Because you said the placebo can sometimes make people feel better
In their brain.
Oh, okay.
It just affects
so they're
the brain.
doing it.
It can go either way.
Right.
That's why they do these studies, You can see a lot of times when you get a medication, they'll include the clinical trials, and it shows how many people took the placebo and how many people took the regular one. And you can see a lot of times that there's a difference. And a lot of times, like with this medication doesn't cause nausea because it's not a medication. But a lot of people that took the placebo had nausea. Why? Because they convinced themselves that this medication that wasn't approved by the FDA yet was going to make them sick. So they got nauseous.
That's funny.
It's one of the top things
that's
that
true.
you can do to yourself is make yourself nauseous.
Well, when you
It's
think
on
about
the
it, that's
list
what
here somewhere.
Dolores and Julia Cannon, when they're getting into the self-healing.
Yeah.
It's you're sort of jumping into that.
Right.
Diving into that
Exactly.
part of your mind that does that.
Yep.
That creates the placebo effect.
Right. So I don't know exactly how doctors use it, because it can be used for treatment of things, like I did it to my grandma. I'm not going to lie, many times that she would be like, I have a headache, and I'd just give her, like a half a Tylenol or one, or, something, a vitamin or something, because I know she didn't need it, but because it's in the mind. Right. It's all here. Or, did I take my medication already? I feel like I didn't. Yeah, you did. And then 10 minutes later, they're better. I mean, obviously, you don't want to mess with certain medications, but, anxiety, nausea. There's a few other things, fatigue, stress, pain management. These are all things that, that we put into our own heads a lot of the time, that we feel these ways because that's what, whatever the doctor, his little pamphlet says, this could cause nausea. Well, it could cause me to be nauseous. It's all the power of the mind.
Yeah.
It's a pretty crazy concept if you think about it.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
Sometimes hard to wrap your mind around.
Right. So let's talk more about how now we change those subconscious thoughts, especially because we know now that we have how many years of subconscious thoughts shoved in there that could be affecting us in ways that we don't realize.
Right.
But you have to deal with now. You can't deal with then. You have to deal with now. So how do you become a more positive person and fix those subconscious issues? Well, one of the things that you can do is be careful with the thoughts that you accept. Mm-hmm. The thoughts that, like we were saying with the news, whatever you take, think logically. That seems to be a problem. People don't think logically. Just because you read it on the internet or hear it on the news doesn't mean that it's true. I do a lot of Googling. I tell people Google it when they ask me questions because I want to know the truth.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't want somebody to put something in my head. I want to know the truth.
Right.
Because those thoughts could mess with you.
For sure.
You also have to get rid of your own toxic thoughts, and because those thoughts are poisonous to their potential. Toxic thoughts must be uprooted. Mm-hmm. So you have to get rid of old ways of thinking. Mm-hmm. And I had asked you earlier today, actually, what do you think, like along this whole process, a toxic trait that you think that you taught yourself to give up?
Well, I mentioned before in a previous episode just about like waking up in a better mood.
Yes.
In the morning, which is pretty much, I've sort of changed in that area. And it didn't take long, to focus where it just became natural. And now it's part of my subconscious. But
it was hard at first.
It was.
You had to work at it.
Yeah.
It's everything you have to work at.
And looking back, you're like, I don't even really know why. Why? Well, I kind of know why now. Right. Especially now talking about it. It's like all those things you are talking about. Mm-hmm. I was sort of carrying them in the forefront of my conscious, even though they're in my subconscious, I was carrying them in the forefront instead of just letting them go back.
Right, exactly.
And be done kind of thing. But, I was really letting them affect me is essentially. But I would say the other thing would be is that, I would, out of maybe insecurity or whatever, get offended if it was something somebody said or did or didn't say or didn't do.
Right.
I would make up 100 million scenarios in my head as to why.
Yeah.
So what I tend to try to make myself do now, and it's still a daily thing, sometimes even waking up, you don't want to wake up, but I think starting it this way is not a good way.
Yeah, I have to be positive.
I think what I do now is I try to send a positive thought to them.
Yes.
Like, man, I really hope that this is going well. I hope their job's going well.
Right.
I hope their wife and them are really loving each other. I just try to do that.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Because you're right. I have to stop rejecting the negative and just be like, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Because you know what? One of the things that I don't know if this came with the spiritual awakening or getting older or what, but I just realized that you don't know what other people are thinking and they don't know what you're thinking, but we try to assume that we know what they're thinking and vice versa. And then we react off of what we think that they are thinking. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that just makes it worse.
Yeah. Marina pointed out the other day, we went to the store together and the cashiers, he gave me my change. I said goodbye and I said his name. Because he's got a name tag.
Right.
There's a reason he's got a name tag. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily so everybody knows his name, but you know what? If you wanted to call him by his name, just for the sake of being personable, you can.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was like, and so she asked me why. And I said, I don't know. I said, think about all the people that come across each other like that guy comes across in his line.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yep.
day in, day out. How many are not nice?
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to be that one.
No, you don't. There's no reason to be
Right.
that one. Why? Why do you, it's not worth it. Make that person's day better.
Right.
You had pointed out something in one of the episodes about like how, you like to talk to people. We go on hikes, you'll say hi and stuff like that. I have always been the type of person that looks down. I'm shy, but I've worked with animals for 20 years, so I don't talk now. I talk to people more, but for so long I didn't. Right. So it kind of makes you like an introvert and awkward, and so I've been working on that. And yesterday I took Sabbath for a walk, and everybody that we walked by, not only did I say hi to them, but I asked them if they would like to pet Sabbath.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
there was one lady that said that he was beautiful, and so we talked and she pet him, and and then I kept walking, and there was a little boy, and normally where I would just keep walking and I got my headphones on minding my own business, I could see this little boy was shy. He was like backing up and afraid of the big black dog because Sabbath is a black lab. And I asked him, like, do you want to pet him? He's really sweet. And Sabbath went up and he gave him a kiss, and the boy was thrilled, right? Oh. So for me, it's helpful because I'm coming out of my shell. I'm getting rid of old patterns, old thought process.
That's awesome.
And I let that boy know that the big black dog is nice.
Yeah.
And then maybe the next one will be too. So the kids aren't afraid of dogs.
The kid didn't, as a child, have some traumatic experience.
Yeah.
He had a nice experience that will also be stored in his subconscious. Yep. But maybe as he approaches other dogs, he won't be so fearful.
Exactly.
We don't know. Maybe that child was extremely fearful, but it's such a good point because we don't know what's going on in each other's heads.
No.
And we don't know what's going on in each other's lives every day. So really the only answer to all this is to just try to be kinder to each other.
Well, and where it really starts, to be honest, is it starts with being kinder to yourself.
And to yourself. Yes.
Because if you're not kind to yourself, how can you really be kind to others? If you're always talking down to yourself or, walking around in a bad mood, how can you be nice to others? You have to, like what I'm saying with talk to people, put that positive energy out there, and that helps, raise that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
The next thing I was going to bring up was plant positive thoughts. So you had kind of talked about that a little bit, like sending thoughts to other people is always good. Putting those types of things. When I do a reading for somebody, I always try to manifest for them. I'll ask them, what is it that you want? And when they tell me, I try to manifest that for them. Yeah. And you know what? A lot of times it happens. I work with a lot of the same people, and things are happening for them.
Well, that bird is a great example.
Exactly. And I have a girl on Shine that's gotten out of an abusive relationship because of the work that we've done. So you put those things out, and you're going to get them back. But you also have to put the positives in yourself.
Right.
There's things in our subconscious that we hold there that maybe people have said to us. You have to let those go, whatever they are, because, we all hold on to our own things. There's things that were pointed out to me in my first marriage, physically, from my ex-husband, things that I felt self-conscious about for years. And I don't think he was trying to hurt my feelings. I think it was more joking. But because I was told the same thing for so long, it became my reality. And then I have, you come along and you're telling me the complete opposite of what I've heard. I've had to change that about myself.
Sure.
I've had to put the positive thoughts in my own head of that's not true. And your husband now loves you exactly how you are. And we joke about these things ourselves now. I'm not as sensitive as I was then. Right. But I also know, I'm like I said, I'm more self-conscious. I don't worry about it as much, but I'm making myself love myself more by saying it's okay, whatever your whole life you've been, whether you have stretch marks or a C-section scar or whatever you might have that maybe somebody has pointed out to you and said that it's ugly. Right now, no, it's not ugly. Right. It's not.
No, you're losing your hair.
Oh, gosh.
Gain weight.
You know what? I love bald men. Sorry.
You got to be happy with yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. That's where essentially what you're saying. You got to be happy with yourself.
Yeah.
If you're judging yourself by comparing yourself to your neighbor or somebody on a magazine, you're hurting yourself.
Yes.
You need to accept you.
Yes.
You were put in this body to learn a lesson in this life, and the best you can do is all they want. Meaning the universe.
Right.
And the angels and the spirits. That's all they want.
Right. Well, you have to be with yourself your whole life.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think people realize that. Like, if anybody deserves your love, it's yourself.
Right.
Because think about it. From the moment you're born, really, even then when you die, because you're still a soul, you're still forever eternity, it's you.
Yeah.
So you have to self-love. It doesn't matter what other people think.
No, because your personality is going to follow you wherever you go.
Yes.
So when you go to the other side, your personality is you.
You have to make your personality you. Yeah.
So when you come back to learn another lesson in another life, your personality is you.
Yes.
So you got to get used to it.
Yes.
And embrace it. Learn how to work with it.
Yes.
And mold it, in the areas it needs molding, and really water it and nurture it in the areas it really needs, nurturing.
Yep.
And kill the areas that need to be killed. But it's a personal level.
Yep.
And until we start doing that individually, we can't spread love to one another.
That's exactly right. You have to love yourself.
Yeah.
So give yourself those positive thoughts, whatever they are, whatever somebody's told you that you are,
Yeah.
My mom telling me I was worthless, not worthless.
Yeah, I didn't grow up feeling super secure. I mean, but I think that's just like, I don't know what it is about our genetics that teenagers go through that,
Oh, yeah. You say something to them once and it can get stuck there, and it now has to be bred out for sure. It's, it's much happier. I'm much happier now that I don't carry along that baggage with me, I
mean, even for myself, like, I had a full head of massive amounts of hair.
Yeah, I did.
As a teenager, and I couldn't have ever, if somebody told me you're going to be totally bald when you get older, I'd be like depressed.
Yeah.
But why?
Why?
Because here I am, and I'm not depressed.
Well, and here's the thing too, is that, and I've said this before, like, everybody has their own taste. So why you were self-conscious about being bald, but I'm more attracted to bald men. Right. So not that it,
You're
it
not
made me go, ooh, a bald man.
Age.
But it was bald and blue eyes.
Right.
Those are two things that I absolutely love. If you would have had a whole head of hair, would I still love you? Of course I would. But would I have been as attracted to you at first? I don't know. My point is that everybody is attracted to something different. Mm-hmm. So don't try and be somebody you're not, because you could be missing out on the right person because you're trying to attract somebody else. It's like, I've had kind of the reverse problem now. Like, I'm lost weight and I'm not self-conscious about it, but I know you like a little bit more weight, and so I'm like, oh babe, I don't want to get any skinnier,
Yeah, let's go getting skinny on
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'll just stay right here. But oh my God, never in a million years would I have thought that I would have been like, oh, I'm losing weight, and so because you're my husband. Doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, and really, honestly, it doesn't matter what you think, but it does. You know what I mean? Like,
it's you, but it doesn't. Yeah, I love you. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, it's so those types of things, positive thoughts.
Yeah,
you're beautiful inside and out, no matter what anybody else thinks.
True.
And then the last thing on my list of ways to kind of work on this is something that you actually said. You have to renew your mind daily. You have to wake up and start positive. Mm-hmm. If you wake up in a bad mood, it doesn't mean the whole day is ruined. You can
start over.
Yeah, absolutely. At any point, you can start over. A lot of people, like, they'll say that they're going to start a diet on Monday.
Yeah.
And then they never do, or they start it and it's done. Then for a few hours, they're like, oh, I'll start it next Monday. It's the same thing with this. Mm-hmm. You can start to have a good day at any time. You don't have to wait till tomorrow. You can start a diet at any time. Doesn't have to be Monday. Nope. You know what I mean?
You're reprogramming yourself, and that takes a little bit of effort, a little bit of time, but it's totally possible.
Yes.
Totally possible. Mm-hmm. But like we've said this before, that what's like habit takes about 21 days to either create or break.
Yeah.
So.
And it's not, it doesn't all happen at once either. Like, I've kind of taken bits and pieces and pulled them apart of my life to kind of change things in my mind and in my subconscious. It didn't all happen at once. Like, I had to deal with my mom, I had to deal with my dad, whatever. Right. So it does take time. You have to, and also something to think of, if you have these kind of problems, like if you know that, you grew up in a childhood that was abusive or whatever, and you may have some suppressed issues, you can get help for that. That you don't have to do that yourself, because that can be hard. Because, I'm a medium, and so I see different things now, but most people don't, and they don't remember their childhood details, and they might need somebody to bring them out.
Right.
That's where a hypnotherapist, like Dolores comes in. Also, you can go to somebody like a life coach or a spiritual counselor like myself. And meditation. Meditation really helps too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a feeling of center or calm is important.
And you know what? It becomes addicting.
It really does.
Yeah.
I love that post that you and Misha both share with Prince.
With Prince, yeah. It said something. And he's making a face like, I can't believe I just did that. And it says something like,
when I argue with people, I get mad at myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, bitch, you just let them ruin your inner peace.
That's exactly what it was. And it's so true, because I swear, even when you and I have a little spat at this point, I was like, why did you even get let into that? Like, why are you doing this? You let him ruin your peace, Well, no, I kind of did it to myself, but yeah, you do. You get to that point where you're like, I just can't handle any of it. Leave me alone,
I
That was
it.
a good one. Yeah. So, yeah, there's some work for you to start helping you be more positive. I'm telling you, you can, if you knew the two of us a couple of years ago and saw the changes that we've made. We've only been doing this show for a year.
Yeah.
We've made some big changes with our subconscious and changing our patterns and everything. So we're proof that it can be done.
Yeah. I'm sure I could bring some people here as a guest and say, would you tell me what you think about this compared to before?
Exactly.
Yeah, I was a bit more abrasive.
Yeah.
But hey,
we all have our issues.
Yeah. It's like we're sort of taught at a really young age to sort of build these defenses, these walls.
Yeah. And
if someone comes at you, it's a defense.
Right. Exactly.
And I started realizing why. What do I got to defend?
Right.
I'm okay with me.
Yeah.
If you're not okay with me, sorry.
I had actually tried something that the other side told me the other day. There was something that I wanted to talk to you about. And so I came to you and I said, I want to talk to you about something. And I could feel that you were getting a little bit feisty and a little bit nervous. Like you felt like you were being attacked, even though I wasn't attacking. But that's old pattern, right? So then for me, I was like, no, I'm not telling you did anything wrong at all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying this is how I feel. So I want to tell you how I feel, but you didn't do anything wrong. And this exercise that was kind of pointed out to me has helped not just me, but I've helped some of my Shine girls with this same thing, that if you kind of approach things like this differently, it helps the reaction be different. And sometimes you need to continuously say something too, like you even, apologize to me later. And I said, again, you didn't do anything wrong. Like, it was just my own.
I was trying to remember what you were talking about now.
It was just my own thought, But you got to talk about these things.
Right.
And you have to be open to them and receptive. And all this is completely changed for us.
Yeah. It's.
Sorry.
We're all here together. There's a reason why there's not just one soul floating on this planet. We're all here together because we are one, just broken off into pieces.
Yes.
And we're supposed to learn from each other. That's why we're broken off into pieces. Because we can teach each other.
Right.
So if we do that in ways where we are compassionate and understanding when you bring something up, or not defensive.
Right, exactly.
Or not reactionary, if, you know what I mean?
Right.
If such. So those kind of simple ways as humanity can really affect everything.
It really can. It absolutely can. Because one of the reasons that I came to you when I did was because I was getting ready to leave for work. And you know how sometimes you think things too much. And I thought, if I don't talk about this now, I'm just going to keep thinking about it.
Right.
I just want to get it. I want to get it down so I can go to work and not think about this.
Sure.
And that's exactly what I did. It was a great exercise.
Yeah.
I think I think my mom pointed that out for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it really helped. And I think it's good to pass on that, just taking things differently, approaching things differently, trying to be more, empathetic, and understanding that a person on the other side may not necessarily be understanding why you're saying what you're saying, you know?
And, you know, yeah, I'm very sorry for all of us that have had traumatic experiences in our life, but the more you're contributing, you're just storing in your subconscious.
Exactly.
You're just adding more to it.
If you're not changing it, you're just actually, like you say, you're adding to it, making it worse.
And the weight difference, if you could, between positivity and negativity is way different. It's like zero gravity in positivity and the maximum amount of gravity in negativity. So it just takes more effort to carry that around than to put positivity in its place.
That is so true.
Because you're not going to really get rid of anything. We can always say forgive and forget. Okay, well, yeah, forgiving is very important. But no, we're not stupid here. We are not able to forget a lot of things. Mm-hmm. So why not do the things that we don't have to worry about forgetting?
Or change your perception, like my story with the pirate and, you know, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't look at it the same way anymore. Change your perception.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that was a good episode.
We done did it.
Yeah, very good.
Well, before we say goodbye, would you like to share?
Sure.
Okay.
So you can find me and everything you need to know about me on the web at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. For our show, there is a link there as well to our Facebook page. But if you would like to send us a message, our email is spiritualjoneses@gmail.com. I love to get listener messages so I can read them on the air. So don't be afraid to share them.
Cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yay.
And art for me, folks, djonesartcollection.com on the web, and Facebook and Instagram at djonesartcollection. And for the music, gypsybrown.com for the web. Facebook is Gypsy Brown or at Gypsy Brown Band, and Instagram is Gypsy Brown Music. Sorry they couldn't be the same.
Yeah, we wish. I did it for the show.
Why can't it be simple, you know?
Oh, gosh, I know.
It'll be like when we're
just going to get the website. You give the website. Once that's all good, and then you can just say the website, go there.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyways, do have a show coming up April 10th. We're super, super, super excited. Universal Bar and Grill. I think it's 4093 Lancashire Boulevard, North Hollywood.
Yay.
10 p.m. If you could go, please go.
Yeah.
We would love to have you.
It's going to be awesome.
And it's going to be fun. We've been rehearsing, and I'm so sick of rehearsing, I'm ready to play.
I'm ready too.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's sounding good. Boys,
it's so
boys
good.
are sounding wonderful.
Yeah.
So please come down, bring a friend.
Yeah, or two.
Share it. I put it on my page, or the Gypsy Brown
I'll
page.
share it on this page too, on the podcast page too.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'd love to come up and introduce yourself if you're a listener or whatever.
That'd be great.
You know, I'd love to meet whoever. But cool. And we play for about 40 minutes, so nothing real long.
Great.
And it'll be good.
It'll be great.
And that's all I got.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Well, before that about does it for us.
Yay.
And we hope you guys have a great week. And until next week, peace and love.